Hey guys, we are back with another video, and this video is kind of cool because you guys have been asking us questions upon questions upon questions about our new home. As you can see, we're finally, well, maybe you can't tell, but we're finally in our new home and we're so excited, we're so happy, we're so blessed to be here. But you guys have been asking us so many questions about it, about how we got here and just how we were able to get and build our new house. So of course we wanted to go ahead and answer some of those questions for you.
So we wanted to title this video 5 Steps to Home Ownership. So we're going to give you a step-by-step breakdown of how we went from where we were 2 years ago to where we are now. So step 1, I would say, is save money and build credit. About 2 years ago, we ventured out and went out on a new lease. It was funny enough because our landlord actually provided us with a copy of credit scores. We actually had never had a landlord who provided us with a copy of our credit score upon signing the lease. So that was funny because we actually knew when we signed that lease that we were actually planning on, when we were done with that lease, to be owning a home. So it actually gave us a ground point of where we were, and I'm always a firm believer you can't know where you're trying to get to if you don't know where you are and where you at, I should say. So he also had a 2-year lease term. So we thought that was perfect. So that would give us enough time to save the money that we needed to save and start really focusing on our credit to get our credit scores going in the direction that we wanted to get our scores going in.
So I think even before saving money, like obviously saving money, I think it is the first step in building your credit. But even before that, having a plan of action and knowing where you want to go, because we had a plan of action before we even started saving money, before we rented the house that we were in previously. We had a plan of action. We knew that we wanted to own a home by a certain time period. So like you said, once we did get into this house and sign this lease, we were like, okay, the clock is ticking. We have 2 years to make this happen, to save the money that we need to save and to build our credit and to get it where we want to get it to. My credit was terrible. It was terrible, and I did a lot of things, a lot of sacrificing, saving a lot of money and paying off a lot of debt in order to rebuild it to where I wanted it to be. And it's still not exactly where I want it to be, but it has done a complete 180, I promise you. So I do have a video on my main channel about how I raised my credit score 75 points in a short amount of time. So if you guys haven't seen that video, I will link it right here and it'll take you right to the video. But yes, I've had to do a lot of work to rebuild my credit and to get it to a good point. And then going back to saving money, we have several videos about how we saved $25,000 last year. Like, we were diligent in our saving and still are diligent in our saving in order to make sure that we had enough money to venture on this new journey.
All right, so as far as my situation goes, my credit situation wasn't in the same situation as hers was, but obviously at this point our credit situations go hand in hand. So in order for us to get stronger, I knew I needed to get stronger. So my credit, I did make a focus on getting my credit score going in the right direction as well, throwing some money at that. And yeah, so by the time we were ready to buy a home, we had a number that we wanted to make sure our credit scores were at before we actually started looking for loans. And over that, I say 1.5 years, because we needed to start actually looking for a home before it's time to actually be done with our lease. By that 1.5 year time point, we had reached our goals, which was phenomenal.
So step number 2, do your research. We researched so much on different houses, on if we should build versus buy, on the neighborhoods that we wanted to live in, the school districts, taxes. We researched everything, and I think that is extremely important in knowing what you want to do. It definitely helps you make your decision.
I think that also having an open mind going into the situation is huge. I know originally I wanted a gut project because I knew it was a certain neighborhood that I at first wanted to live in. So I was really huge on like maybe buying a cheaper home and gutting it. I know the wife was really main on building. Obviously, we looked at different things. Our situations changed from, I shouldn't say situation, our thought process completely changed from when we first originally started looking at homes to when we ultimately ended up buying. Because actually the first situation that we were actually looking at getting into as far as building goes, we actually didn't think we were going to be able to build because that whole plot had actually been bought by the time we was actually ready to start buying. So
yeah, we were actually looking at a subdivision, and I was really into that subdivision, and then the entire thing sold before we, before we got our feet wet in the whole building process. We weren't ready to really build yet, but I was holding out that maybe there would still be a spot in that development, but unfortunately the development sold. So I kept doing even more research on different neighborhoods, and if we would be, like he said, if we would be able to build versus buy. And a lot of the builders that I looked at, they were just way too expensive, and I was like, I don't think we're going to be able to build. So I started researching, homes that were just on the market. And what I found through my research, just through the market in general, was that the homes that I wanted for the price, it seemed like you would just have to put more work into them. Like, I saw nothing that was completely updated as far as what I wanted in the neighborhoods that we wanted. So I'm like, researching can sometimes get you a little discouraged. I feel like I was getting a little discouraged because I'm like, I don't see anything out here. Either it's too expensive, too small, because we need a good size house for our family size, or it's just too outdated and we would have to put too much time and too much money into it. So I would say just make sure you take your time and, like he said, expand your mind. Make sure you're open-minded going into the situation, because it could be the least likely thing, the thing that you thought that you would never like or would never be able to do, that falls into your lap and becomes the perfect situation for you. So the next step, after you've saved your money, after you've built your credit, after you've done all your research, when it is time to go ahead and start looking, you want to go in and get pre-qualified for a loan. When you get pre-qualified for a loan, this will tell you how much money you have to work with. It's how much the bank is willing to loan you. So that way you're not looking for $1 million homes when your budget is $200,000. So that is very important, because first off, you don't want to look at something and get disappointed because you can't get it. You want to have that number in mind, so when you go in to look at a home, you know that it's in your price range and you're able to afford it.
Yeah, our process was fairly simple. We had a couple of people that we talked to as far as getting a loan. They basically was like, send me your information. It's actually a little simpler than what I thought it was actually going to be. We had a guy, there's some people who can get either both you guys on the loan. I don't know about everybody's situation. Everybody's situation is different. It might be because there's a debt to income ratio that comes into play when it comes to buying a home. So you may have a situation where your significant other or your wife or husband has a little too much debt, which obviously everybody's situation is different. So they might not be able to be on the loan to be able to get you the house that you're looking for. And there's ways that you can be able to go about maybe only one person being on the loan, but both you guys being on the deed. So both you guys own the home, but the loan is only in one person's name. Like I said, everybody's situation is different. So it's just a few different ways to go about that process. And the earlier you get that started, the more options you have at your disposal as far as getting approved for a housing loan.
It's very true. And you also, it was a simple process, but you also want to make sure that you have all of your documents together as well. So everything that they ask for, they're going to ask you obviously for your
tax returns. They want to see, they want you to maintain a job. That's the number one thing that I will say that they do. That it was a little annoying, but I completely get. It was like, I need to see your. It's like, you applying for the loan, I need to see a check stub. It was like 3 months into 2 months into the process, I need to see another check stub. It's like, are you about to close on a loan? I need to see another check stub. It was like, we need to know you got a job. which, like I said, I completely understand.
Not only have a job, but that your income didn't significantly change, or your profession, I won't say your profession, but the way you get paid didn't significantly change. So if you went from a salary job and now you're like straight commission in the middle of the loan, they're going to be like, whoa, hold on, pump the brakes. So things like that, like you don't want to make any major changes while you're waiting on your loan to close. And it's a little different with building versus buying, because when you're buying, obviously you can buy the house and kind of get this process done a bit quickly. When you're building, you're not paying any money up front. So the company is actually paying for your loan up, not your loan, but paying for the lot up front. And so the loan is sitting there in limbo for 3+ months or however long it takes to build. So if something changes within that 3+ months that the lender doesn't like, that could put on your whole loan.
Yeah, it's actually, from a lending standpoint, that's a major kind of a risk that the lender is actually taking, because it's like we're selling you this home with no money, because all they ask for is like a little, like they want to see some kind of commitment. They do ask for some kind of commitment, but it's nothing compared to what ultimately the house is in the end going to be. When they actually tell you if anything goes wrong throughout the process, they actually give you that money back. At least our company did. I'll put that precursor on. I won't say that because I don't know how all loan companies work. Ours did say that if for whatever reason the funding falls through, you will get this money back that you gave us. But they do ask for somewhat of a commitment up front. But like I said, that's a major commitment on their end to be able to, like, we're gonna build this home on the premise that nothing in your life is going to change over the next 4.5, 5 months, and we still going to trust you to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's, like I said, that's all part of the process of being pre-qualified. Some of the steps that we had to go through and stuff we had to go through as far as obtaining our loan and then ultimately getting approved for our loan in the end.
This is also where getting your credit together comes into play, because the better your credit, the better the rate that you get on your loan, the interest rate. Interest is the cost of borrowing money. So think about it this way. The better your credit, the less you have to pay to borrow that money in the long run. So this is where you want to make sure your credit is together and it's as high as it could possibly be, so you can get the best possible interest rate. That is so important, because interest can build and build and build, and having a better interest rate will save you thousands upon thousands in the long run.
So step 4 would be, do I build? Do I buy? What should I do? This step ultimately is you. Like I said, that comes to being open-minded. What do you ultimately want to do, and what is your vision for a home?
And there are several places where you can go to look for homes. You can go to, I was on the site redfin.com a lot. I was on Zillow. Trulia is another one. There are so many different sites out there where you can go look for homes and check out what's in the market in your neighborhoods. And they're very easy to navigate as well. You just put in the neighborhood or the zip code that you want to be and how many miles you're okay with being away from that zip code, and then it'll just populate all of the houses that are on the market. So I saw some amazing homes. They have photos, they have the square footage, the price, and then they also have mortgage calculators on those sites. So that's very great, because mortgage calculators give you a real representation of what you may be paying a month. Now keep in mind, something I didn't know before, mortgage, so when you pay your mortgage every month, you're not just paying your mortgage. You're paying your mortgage, you're paying your taxes, and you're paying your insurance. So all of that stuff gets paid monthly in one lump sum. At least for us, the money goes into escrow, and then the companies take it from there.
So you can also go the realtor route. Obviously, HGTV makes a lot of money off of running those TV shows, and there's people, real-time people who do that stuff all the time. We didn't ultimately go that route. We kind of already knew what we wanted, so we didn't really need to have somebody showing us around to a bunch of different homes or anything of that nature. So those are other options. You don't just have to do it on your own. There are options available to you.
Probably in between the step of your research and getting pre-qualified for a loan, if you do not plan on building, I would definitely find a realtor somewhere in between those two steps. I would find a realtor just because they may know things that you don't. They have connections where maybe a house is going on the market that isn't up on one of the sites that you frequent currently, and they can say, hey, this house is up on the market, let's go see it before it even hits the general public. So I would definitely get a realtor if you're planning on buying a house that's just going on the market and not building a house. So the fifth and final step is to make a decision. That's what we did. Like he said, we actually went to see another company about a new build. We also went to see a pre-existing home that was on the market, and we were actually really close to buying that. We did put in an offer on it and it got rejected, so we didn't want to go any higher than the offer that we put in. So that's when we started looking into other options, and we came across this development. So ultimately making a decision to live here.
Yeah, I would say obviously that's the number one. That's the most important step. What do you want to do? Where do you want to live? How is it going to affect you? That's only you can make that decision.
This is a weird way of putting it, but I feel like it's almost like buying a wedding dress. Like when I went to look for wedding dresses, I didn't even try on that many dresses actually. I only went 2 times, and the first time I went, I actually found my wedding dress, but I was too afraid to buy it. So I was like, I want to go shopping again next week. So I went the next week and went shopping, tried on a few more dresses, and ultimately came back to that same dress. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing. Like, you don't want to try on too many dresses. You don't want to go see every single house that you see on the market. I feel like that just confuses you. Like, there's people that look for houses for years because they're like, I just can't find. And I feel like those are those closed-minded people, or those people that honestly just don't want to make a decision. They're like, I'm just too afraid to make a decision. But if you see something that you like, I would encourage you to jump on it, especially if you're in a competitive market. There are some markets that houses go in a day, in 2 days. So if you're in one of those markets, that you'll know that when you do your research, what type of market you're in. Your realtor will also be able to let you know that. If you're in one of those markets, that's something that you want to make sure that you get your list together, your list of must-haves that you need in a home, of things that you're looking for. Find those things and jump on it so you can find your perfect home.
Yeah, just to piggyback a little bit off of what she says, I work in an industry of sales, in car sales. We call it in our industry car fatigue. We always say in our industry, if you drive more than 3 cars, more than likely that person's not gonna buy a car, because at some point they all just start feeling the same, and you just like, I just got to make a decision. And that's kind of how it comes with a home too.
So those are the 5 steps that we took to purchasing our home, or building our home. We have several other videos planned about the home buying process, so make sure you guys stay tuned. Subscribe if you have not, so you don't miss a video.
So yeah, like she said, we have more updates to come from this video. This won't be the last video, so you want to make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when we have a video coming out, and you can be there to check it out.
Also, if you have any other questions about the home buying process, leave it down below. We also want to do like a Q&A, so if you have any questions for us, any type of questions, you can leave those down below as well, or email them to us. Our email is always in the description box. It's just bradleytv@yahoo.com.
Or if you got any tips for anybody who's actually in the process of buying a home that maybe we didn't hit upon,
that would be awesome.
Also make sure to drop those in the comment box below also.
So don't forget to follow us on all of our social media. They are always listed down below. And until next time, we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.